Hey everybody, this is Blue, and I'm wanting to talk about Paladins today. Now, the Paladin is a religious fighter. He is a semi-spell user in the Rolemaster system. He is very difficult to run in many campaigns. Um, the Paladin seems to have a lot of restrictions to it. There are many GMs that love to put their rules on this profession class, and the subclass system that I see in D&D, I think is stupid for the Paladin. So let's discuss the Paladin. Alright, so the Paladin is not an original profession in the Rolemaster system. The Paladin does not show up until Rolemaster Companion number 1. That's one of the things I loved about the second edition for Rolemaster, was that they had these companion books. These were ICE's attempt to collect various homebrew rules and put them in the book and sell them. So I mean, they had new professions, races, stat options, rule options. Some of them got into some very wonderful detail. And this is why, if you can get your hands on Rolemaster, and if you want to play a game system that has very well defined skill system, rule system, magic system, combat system, Rolemaster, in my opinion, can't be beat. Okay? So, the Paladin. Paladins are channeling semi-spell users who concentrate heavily in chivalric combat. The Paladin is the epitome of Arthurian knighthood. Names like Lancelot, Gawain, and especially Galahad should come to mind. He is a heavy weapons and heavy armor specialist. The Paladin should be played carefully in regard to moral style. It's usually strictly good and chivalrous, lawful good. And any variance from his convictions, turns his great strength into a bloody hypocrisy. All right, and we're going to discuss that shortly. The prime requisites for this profession are strength and intuition. Strength because it is a combat profession, and intuition talks about its connection to the world around him and thus the gods and his beliefs around him. The worst thing about the Paladin, to me, is that, and they just discussed it here, was that there is a limitation on your freedom to play with the character. A lot of GMs say that there is this strict code for what a Paladin is, and if you variate from it in almost any way, shape, or form, there's complaints. I've played a Paladin many times. The first two Paladins I had was in other people's campaigns, and I hated it. I actually celebrated to myself when my Paladins died, because there were so many restrictions on the Paladin. Because there were people that were saying that, well, your Paladin shouldn't do that. Your Paladin is not going to allow this. Your Paladin is not going to allow that. And, I'm just going, this is my PC. I am upholding to these codes, but, my Paladin should have a little bit of leeway to be himself. And they were going, no. So the first thing that I would do to improve the Paladin is to get rid of the alignment chart. To say that a paladin can only be lawful good, I think is wrong. They are kind of stating that only lawful good gods can have paladins. What happens if you're a paladin who is a follower of a deity and whatever that deity represents? So what happens if that deity is not exactly lawful? Okay, now in my view, my homebrew, any god can have a paladin. If you are a deity, you have followers, you can have a paladin. Okay, pretty simple, right? So what happens when Loki has a paladin? Okay, Loki is the trickster, right? So then his views on laws are not the same as what Odin's would be. And so you could have a chaotic lawful deity with paladins. So should his views on what is right and wrong not follow this strict super code that every other GM seems to impose on everybody? You should have a lot more flexibility on that part. And that is the other thing. We have to remember that they're human. Or I shouldn't say that. Since we are in fantasy, they are not perfect. And thus, almost every race out there is going to have deviant into it. No two humans are alike. No two dwarfs are actually alike. Okay? Now, I got to put religion in this because it's the only way I can describe this and the only way to improve the paladin. And that is, in Christianity, there is more than one denomination of the belief system, correct? Because you have your Roman Catholics, Methodists, Lutherans, Wesleyans, Baptists. There are over 100 different denominations of Christianity on the world today. So we cannot say this one view, this one aspect of Christianity is the only aspect of Christianity that all paladins have to follow, correct? So we have to give a little flexibility here, where if we were doing an alternative world with Christianity as the dominant religion, but there are so many denominations, there could be a Christian Methodist Paladin and a Christian Lutheran Paladin. While they probably will agree on 85% of the virtues and alliance with God, yes, but there's that 5%. Are we going to say, well, everything that the Lutheran Paladin does is wrong because of that 5%? No. We have to give them a little bit of perspective, a little bit of leeway. And when you think about the pagan belief systems, there are no two pagans alike. How two Celtic pagans feel about the gods and all are going to be different. And so there needs to be some flexibility, an allowance of a different perspective when we build a religious character, because they are not cookie cutters. They should not ever be cookie cutters. And with that, we also have to tell the GMs and all the other players in that campaign, that gaming session, this is my character, get over it. Just a moment. And so that is, I think, the primary way to improve the characters, the profession, is to give it some flexibility. The other paladins that I had a pagan paladin. Okay? And so this particular PC honored 17 different Celtic gods and goddesses. You know, not hyper focused on one. It had a plethora of deities to channel from and to honor, which gives a character a heck of a lot more interest, backstory, because yes, they could have a matron god or goddess, or I'm sorry, patron god or a matron goddess, but you know, they are going to do their best to honor all of them, and so that I think is important, you know, to add some pizzazz to our characters. We need to also get rid of the concept of the anti-paladin, the black paladin. All right, because like I was saying, how there needs to be a perspective, you know, to give them some flexibility. We can't say that if you follow this god, you're an anti-paladin. No. Again, using Christianity here. You know, if you are a follower of Yahweh, Jehovah, and then you can be a paladin, right? Well, Satan, if he has people that want to honor him and follow his laws, they are doing the exact same thing for Satan as some others are doing for God. So their actions are identical. It's just that who they follow is different, and it is an extremely different flavor. So they are paladins to a maybe bad god, but they're still paladins, and they should get all the benefits with a paladin. Okay. Now the next thing is the level bonuses. I have a lot of books here, so sorry. Now the paladin has certain advantages, right? In Rolemaster, they have level bonuses that show that this profession is good at these skills compared to other people, or they are not as good in other skills compared to others. In athletic skills, which is, you know, you're running, you're climbing, swimming, and that, they get a +2. In social skills, this is your tale telling, propaganda, intimidation, interrogation, and many more. They also get a +2. They are religious representatives, and so they can lead prayer and a lot, so they must have social skills. And combat, they're the tank, right? So they get a +3. And that, you know, that's your weapon development, parrying, brawling, martial arts. If it involves trying to kill somebody, they get a +3 in it. Perception. They're not as good as perception, but they do have to have a sense of what's around them, and so they get a +1. And a paladin is not very good in magic. They know magic, but they only get a +1 in that skill area. Okay? Now, in Rolemaster, one of the things I disagreed with Rolemaster was how they separate the 3 realms of magic. Because they have the realm of channeling, essence, and mentalism. And so they have in there. 3 professions are basically the same because you have your Arms Master for mentalism, your Noble Warrior for essence, and your Paladin for channeling. But they're basically there are differences in the spells and all that, but basically they're the same thing. And so in my world, I don't have the 3 realms. I have the realm. You can call it arcane. I just don't separate them. Because really, in Rolemaster, the realms are divided in how you get your energy. Okay? And so, I remember I put that one book. One of the other complaints about... Okay, well, I better finish that. So I only have 2 professions where Rolemaster had 3. I basically got rid of the Noble Warrior. Because you have your religious, spell, semi-magic user, fighter, and your non-religious. Okay? So that they can fill whatever need they want or need in a campaign. Gotta check my notes here real quickly. There are other... It's not really a variant. We have non-magical paladins as well. A Templar. And everybody heard about the Knights of Templar, okay? Well, Templars are non-magical paladins. They have all the skills of a paladin. They have all the responsibilities of a paladin, but they just don't have the magic of a paladin. In D&D, they have their O's, and this is how they separate into subclasses, the paladins. Rolemaster doesn't do that, and I don't do that either. A paladin gets their energies from their deity, and the more and more that they follow the embodiment of that deity, they get their power points. And if they do not follow that code of their god or goddess, then those gods can turn off the power points. So that's why it's very important to say this is how they get their magic. Because I've seen 2 or 3 videos online where they say, well, where do they get their magic? And one was saying that they don't get them from the deities, they get it from their O's. No. It is my opinion that they get it from their deities, and that's how their deities keep their paladins in line, because they can go, Billy, I told you not to do that with that goat. And all of a sudden, Billy has no magical ability. Paladins can channel from their deities from other entities. An entity is a weaker form of deity. Some people are going to say from demons, but it can be any entity that has, I set the bar at over 1,000 power points at a time. Anything lower than that doesn't have enough power to channel energy to all of its followers. Let me see if I can find everything. I have 6 books on my desk right now as I am trying to go through everything. So, the other bad thing about Rolemaster is that they limit their professions to 6 base lists. And that's what they work with. They also get the open and closed spell lists, but I believe that there should be more base lists. So, in basic Rolemaster, the base lists are Communion, which is about going against magics. This is detecting enemies, canceling, channeling essence mentalism, dispelling, channeling essence or mentalism, dream, dispel, and a communion. Okay. Their next spell lists are exorcisms. Okay, repel undead, repel demons, that type of, which is pretty stereotypical of what we put on paladins and clerics and that. For fighting, holy arms. This is spells to make your weapon better, where you can embed temporarily, like the holy slaying criticals. It gives your weapon better strength, also to go against undead, because in many game systems, if you don't have a magical weapon, it does nothing to the undead. The next base list is holy healing, and this is, like it just says, it's about like basic healing, where you can remove 10 concussion hits, minor fracture repair, stun relief, disease resistance, poison resistance, and getting a higher and higher level of ability on those. Next one is holy shields. Now this one I like. This is like a protection prayer, aura, shielding, blurring, unpain, blade turn, unaimed true, which basically you're confusing your opponent so they can't shoot that bow and arrow at you. And so that helps in combat and against other things. The last one for them on the base list is inspiring ways. This is, of course, just as it sounds, you're trying to inspire your people around you on your group. You try to give them courage, inspiration, voice of friendship, commands, voice of caution. So you are trying to help them in very many different ways. And so those are the 6. I have more, and there's even more flexibility in my game. All right. The total spell list for my version is Crusade, Holy Arms, Holy Healing, Holy Shields, Holy Warrior, Faith's Shield, Holy Defenses, Holy Weapons, Holy Wrath, Proselytizing, and Jihad. Those are all lists that are in the various spell laws, companions, and that. So with these, you are able to fight better. One of the complaints that I was also getting is was about the smiting. Okay, and smiting, I gotta find it first. Smiting in D&T, they were saying there are some limitations to it about how often you can do it. And that's one thing I love about D&D Channeling Companion. Just one sec. Channeling Companion. Again, and most of this is rules, and half of it, I would say, is spell lists. So we have, I wonder if they're going to tell you how much. There's probably about 70 spell lists on this book, and a whole bunch of rules, and talks about 3 professions. And so I gotta find, this is I got so many charts here. That's the one bad thing about Rolemaster. They also called it Chartmaster because there are a lot of charts, graphs, and all that. They have a lot of information, and so if you can handle the details and all that, you can have a lot of fun with this game. Holy Wrath. Okay, this is a spell list that's like smiting, but it gives you a lot more flexibility because there are 23 different spell lists giving you from a basic holy attack, adds plus 15 to the caster's melee or missile attack for the current round. And that's just a level 3 spell, so in the Rolemaster system that's not a lot. Okay, it's not a lot of power points, but they have Holy Attack, Holy Blast, Holy Strike. They got Heathen's Judgment, which I don't agree with the wording. Alright, target enemy or target creature of darkness takes 2d10 hits. He also operates at -20 to all actions for the duration. So, there you go. It's more damage, and that -20 means that on whatever attack rolls or resistance rolls, you take 20 away from that roll result. So they are not going to be able to do a lot of damage. So this is a good thing. But the one I wanted to share with you was the highest level, Divine Wrath. Caster exposes all within the area of effect to the raw power of his deity. All in the area of effect must make a resistance roll. Failure indicates 1 E-Holy spell critical for every 10-point failure. So if you fail your resistance roll by 12, that's 2 E-crits. So that is very powerful. And the caster suffers no penalty. And so that is a very powerful spell. So you have the ability to smite in Rolemaster. Alright, I have to edit this part in. I forgot a key factor. The spell lists are what add flavor to the Paladin. And so in my game, I add a lot of spell lists to my spell users so that they are not cookie cutter. That is, like I said, one of the problems with the Rolemaster game system is because you're saying, here's your 6 spell lists, don't be like everybody else. And so I believe that you should add more spell lists to your professions. That's why Rolemaster is better than D&D, because it just seems like D&D is very restrictive on that. As I was saying, about my spell list, I've added the Crusade, Holy Arms, Holy Healing, Holy Shields, Holy Warrior, Faith Shield, Holy Defenses, Holy Weapons, Holy Wrath, Prophetizing, and Jihad. I also think that it is important to add 2 more spell lists to your character. And these 2 spell lists must reflect the main deity that this Paladin is following. So you could have a god that is healing. A healing god being your primary, because that you want to help the world. And so your Paladin should get 2 spell lists, probably from the healer or from the cleric, because clerics can have more healing skills, and add that to your Paladin. Your Paladin might be following an elemental lord, and so think about whatever element that he is going to be following and add 2 related spell list to it. So let's say this is a paladin, and it's kind of like a world like Avatar: The Last Airbender. So you want your paladin to have fire forms and fire law, so that he can manipulate various forms of fire, aka firebend, for the game. You might have a paladin that is on the darker side, and so he might need to follow Doom's law and maybe what's it called? Call undead, because he is on the darker side. There are so many variants because with Rolemaster there are easily over 500 spell lists in all, and so you could add any two to your paladin, and you can create one that is absolutely unique. You could have a paladin that is a dwarf paladin, and so you could want to give him some of the craftsman spells. Stone lore and metal lore would be awesome spells to have for your dwarven paladin. We also have missionaries in my game, and so you could add ceremonies and protections to your paladin to make him a more worldly person, and work with missionaries to help convert and protect people. And so this is a great way to add meat to your character. I hate cookie cutter professions, and so my general rule on my professions is each profession must have 9 base spell lists. They can have more, but they cannot have less than 9. So there's my edit, and back to the original. In review, the Paladin can be a great profession to play. Unfortunately, if you are somebody that wants to enforce the strict code of conduct on your Paladins and anybody who plays the Paladin, you're going to take away from the enjoyment of the character. Nobody follows the same religion exactly. There could be deviants. An example that I was wanting to give earlier was about, in the Christian Bible, they say, suffer not a witch to live. Okay. But that could be taken in 2 ways. You can force convert that witch and make them give up that practice, or you can just kill the witch. Which one is it? Some of the various forms of Christianity are going to say convert, and some are going to say kill. Okay? Just look at the burning times. Okay? Spanish Inquisition. They killed the witches. Not everybody agreed with that. Okay? So which way are you going to go? You have to give a bit of perspective on everything. All right? You can have any race be a paladin. Any god can have a paladin. So you could actually have an orc human cross be a paladin, no problem. And they could follow an orc god, no problem. As long as they're following the tenets of whatever god, they're a paladin. And you can punish them by having the god block them from receiving power points until they repent their sins. So I think that is the best ways to improve the paladins. Please put your opinions down below, and hey, everybody, take care Be at peace.